Is the challenge for the ECB now to be almost as clear as Jay Powell was yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, Jay Powell was crystal clear, I think, and he went out of his way to even say he was being clear and communicating in sort of, very simple language. I think for Draghi and the ECB, it's a much, much tougher proposition. I think whether they make more announcements today or whether it's in July is almost academic but by September, obviously that's when the QE program is due to end and they will have to announce something. But I think there is so much going on in terms of issues within the Eurozone, in terms of the data being very, very, mixed and murky, in terms of not wanting to sort of frighten investors, but also wanting to sort of keep, I think, very, very clear communication. So I think Draghi has a very, very difficult job to really explain, QE, the tapering, when it's finally going to end, is it going to be a different size, and then to sort of separate that, and is he going to announce any sort of forward guidance in terms of actual interest rate normalisation as well? It's a tough one.
I mean, it's his biggest concern actually inflation. Let me bring you over to my chart. This is the inflation chart, Marilyn, and it seems that actually, so we see that little bit of a pickup, which is maybe fuel and oil, but overall he just hasn't seen that wage growth that he was expecting.
No, he hasn't, and that's something that the ECB have stressed themselves, is that they're really not comfortable with the inflation profile and the inflation projections at the moment. And so also to have to explain, why he would be tapering the asset purchase programme in a scenario where inflation isn't sort of close to their target of just below 2%. It's a very difficult communication that he's going to have to come through with.
Yeah, Marilyn, I thought the press conference was fascinating yesterday, starting with the idea of Chairman Powell standing up. Riley, if we can show that, folks, this really, Mike McKee was dazzled by this when Mr. Powell walked out standing up instead of sitting down. But the idea, Marilyn, here through the press conference was simply a central bank trying to get out front of the debate. Does BlackRock see evidence that any central bank, including Mr. Draghi, can get out front of the debate? Don't they have to react to the data?
So I think the ECB in particular are going to have to be very, very data dependent. I think the end of the QE program is almost a given in our view. By the end of the year, we think they will definitely finish tapering. But from there, where they then get to the stage where they're actually sort of raising interest rates and removing that negative deposit rate, is going to be very, very difficult, and it will be data dependent. And so the data is very, very murky. I think your point is excellent in that in the US, I think the data is much clearer. It's overall a very, very strong picture. It's one economy. The labour market's very tight. There are more actually job openings than there are people looking for jobs. And when you look at a whole range of different factors, the US economy is doing incredibly well. But also you have the fiscal stimulus as well. When you look at the Eurozone, it's such a mixed picture in terms of the underlying different economies as well. So we heard from Matt how well Germany is doing, but a look across the board and it's a very mixed picture as well. So being data dependent when you have so many different data points to consider is also much harder for the ECB.